Shawn Eckels. Been a long time. Never gotten a real chance to sit and have a conversation
Yeah,
with you.
man.
So now is the time, I guess. I'm really excited about this.
The time has come.
Yeah, yeah.
Good to
Well,
see you.
I first I'll start you with a softball question. I was just curious, like what really originally inspired you to get into guitar and music and everything else? I just kind of have always been curious about that.
Joel Eckels, my brother.
Joel
Uh,
Eckels. Okay.
he's my brother, 4 years older than me. And when we were young and growing up in a Navy family,
Mhm.
we moved around a whole lot. And then eventually we were living in I was born in Newport, Rhode Island. My brother was born in Seattle, Washington, 4 years apart in the 70s. And we ended up, my brother, I was my brother's little brother. He didn't want anything to do with me because he was in like ninth grade. And then we moved to Iceland for 2 years, and he didn't know anybody, so he knew his little brother, and he started playing a bunch of guitar. It's like right when Appetite for Destruction and like Metallica One came out, and MTV was awesome, and like, but we moved, so I was already like air guitar on the broomstick before we moved there, and then my brother started showing me like Sabbath, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and all that stuff, and playing guitar together. So that was about 11 years old. And
11.
yeah, all I've done since then is be in bands and play guitar.
I was gonna say you've played so much guitar, man. Like I don't even
A lot of guitar.
do you know how many bands you've played with?
Dude, I have no. I mean, we could go through it. I don't know, man. It's a lot. I mean, it's like at least 20 some bands I've had. Like they played at least two gigs. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they had a band name and things like that. But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know. I
it's
saw that
crazy.
you were with some different people playing out of Denver. Now you're gonna be playing in Hawaii soon or something, right? You're like
Exactly with the Springfield native Brian Adams, who used to play
okay.
with Barefoot Revolution, and he was in
Yeah.
the Primus cover band Los Bastardos.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So he moved out here years before I moved out here. And yeah, and it's with his drummer Chris Sheldon, who played with him in Great American Taxi and Dead Fish Orchestra and all that stuff. So the two of them have been going out to Hawaii, and they invited me. So I can't complain. I'm gonna go to go to the Big Island and play some rock and roll.
You can never complain about that, man. I
I
remember
had time off from Andy Frasco, so I was like, "You got to be kidding me! I can do this." So aloha.
you guys are playing like 200 shows a year or so with Frasco, right? Or are you playing
Definitely did in the past. I've been in this band for almost 12 years, I think now, and or at least a decade, and 250 plus shows, man, it's crazy. And obviously, the pandemic obviously slowed us down, but I mean, we're clocking many shows this year.
yeah.
It's getting crazy. We're about to hit just. I think it's something like 25 to 30 major festivals coming up in the next until August. We'll tour again, but we're going to go out and play all these festivals all over the country, which is insane. Our booking agent is this guy John Bongiorno. He's booked bands for 30 years, and he said he's booked our band this year on more festivals than he's ever booked any other band. So
Wow.
we're busy.
So what would you say is like the easiest part, like when it comes to like being on the road, and like what's the hardest parts of that, and like what do you think, like as a person, like what kind of gets you ready for that, or what's like kind of makes it maybe more of a struggle for somebody?
The easiest part is playing the show and
Yeah.
having a blast. It's like that's the whole reason, right? It's funny. It's like it's an hour and a half or 2 hours at the most. Or if you're opening, it's 45 minutes or an hour. And the whole day and all your driving, all your 8 hour drive and hustling and not having a lot of time or any sleep. That's the hardest part. Is like you have to manage that you get an hour here, 2 hours, or sometimes you get eight and make them count. It's like sleep is definitely hard to come by, and that's probably the hardest thing is you just get exhausted. We just did 3 weeks, and we had been doing 4 week or 4 months in a row. I mean, that'll kick your ass every time, no matter what.
I can
But
see that.
like
Yeah.
we did 3 weeks, it was like God damn, it's been a while, like this feels like 4 months. So you just got to get back in the groove of like throwing yourself through that. But I mean, ultimately playing live is wow, it keeps getting better. So I love it.
There's nothing like it. I mean, even if you're not playing for anybody, it's still like the most beautiful thing,
Yeah,
like
it's the highest high I've ever had is playing
yeah.
playing the show, man.
And people always wonder about, like why people get into drugs and whatever else. I'm like, man, I can't even imagine the high that it is for like 100,000 people in front of you,
Right.
or something, and like playing for that, and like that high, I feel like you probably chase all the time,
Of course. Yeah, of course. Of
and
course. I mean, can't say that I haven't. We're getting older, and we're trying to keep things going as long as we can. So you got to definitely be careful. I've had friends go down like that too. Because it's an unmatched high, and
Mhm.
the excitement of it, you kind of want to keep things going, and sometimes that trickles into people drinking too much or doing drugs.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for those demons.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, I don't think I've gotten to the high point enough personally as a musician to like feel that side of it as much. I think it's more because, for the most part, I've still played for smaller crowds and whatever else.
I think it still occurs there too. It's like, songwriters and going into a deep place, and where you're singing a song that you wrote. That can
Mhm.
be that could be as high as playing for a lot of people. I think
That's
it's just
true. That's
what
true.
makes your skin crawl. When you hear a song and you're like, God damn, what was that? When you hear this, like when you're fan, you're like, what? That's the same thing. That's the high.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
the goosebumps. Like if you wrote a song that moves you like that, you could be playing for in the room by yourself and get that high. I think.
That's true because so like my grandma has really like terrible dementia, and I wrote a
Sorry.
song like about that, a little while ago, and I actually just went home to see her this past weekend in St. Louis because she had a stroke.
Sorry to
Um,
hear that.
yeah, but yeah, it was really hard for me to play that song at my show this past weekend because I knew I was going to cry probably
Of
on stage
course.
if I played it. I knew it would really hit me that hard. So
And you know what? That's powerful. That's so powerful, not only to you, but if people are watching you play. It's like
yeah,
your intention coming through a song that's so personal, man. That's wow. That's like a wave of emotion, man. People are paying attention at all. That hits them hard, man. Like your intention of going through those words, whatever the song might be. That's
yeah.
cool. That's special stuff. And yeah, if it's, I hear you. There's some songs from some friends that passed away that I play sometimes, and it's like, man, I can't play that one live. I just can't. I can't get
Can't
through
do
it.
it today. Yeah,
Can't even
exactly.
get through it. There's another one that's a little more upbeat. It's like I can get through that one. It's like the slow one, man. It's like a heart stopper. It's like
Yeah, dude.
okay, that's the power of music. It's like the happy part and the sad part of it. I love melancholy so much, dude. Like it's like I find the saddest songs, and I'm just like, yeah, I love that shit so much. That's kind of opposite of what I do live, where I'm just like really extrovert.
Yeah, you guys put on one of the best shows that I've ever seen, I think. Like when it
Thanks,
comes
man.
to just the energy and the like just like what you guys leave on stage. Like nothing. You don't leave anything
Yeah,
on stage. I can't
it's
even
wild.
imagine how exhausting that would be, like 200 shows a year. Like
Yeah,
that's
this
insane.
last tour we did like 6 shows in a row right off the bat. It was like, woo, yeah, okay, let's go. Like it's like getting into a fight a little bit. And like our bass player Floyd, who I don't know, were you around Springfield when Spooky Daily Pride from Boston used to come through? I don't know if they
Uh,
used to open for Spooky.
that doesn't sound familiar, no.
Regardless, early 2000s, I'd say. But Floyd is our bass player now. He used to play bass with that band. But and they were a rowdy band from Boston called Spooky Daily Pride. But now we have Floyd Kellogg in our band, and Floyd and Frasco have a constant wrestling match during our show. It's like it's insane. And it's like people look at us, and like some people have never seen our band, like the fuck is this? It's kind of a nice place to be. Like it cracks me up every time, man. Like I'm smiling ear to ear right now just thinking about it.
So do you guys um is it more of a thing that whenever I've seen your shows, you kind of have like a, you know, uh, what seems like a prepared kind of like movements sometimes and stuff like that. Do you guys really like work on that, or is that something that's just kind of natural as you've played as many shows as you've had?
Yeah, it's just kind of it's funny one day, and then we do it again the next time, and then it's like, and sometimes it's like little stupid fucking shit. It goes away, and
Yeah.
it's unspoken and like never comes back. you know, or like one guy stops doing it. Like there's a couple of things like that. But there's some things that like the drummer and I, we do a thing where he plays behind my back, and we both play I'll play the right hand and he'll play left hand on this, and it's like this. Over time, we've gotten better at it. So and it belongs in a couple songs because it's in A minor. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so it's like, but it's available. It's like a bunch of back pocket tricks or gimmicks, and like
Yeah.
it's
But
almost game show shit when it comes to Frasco in the crowd. It's like he's
it's a show thing though. That's what you
it's
guys
awesome,
are.
but like but you're accumulating more moves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's fun.
Well, and you
So
guys switch instruments and stuff too, right? Like you do all that kind of stuff.
and
Yeah.
that was a joke when and we were in fucking Berlin, Germany, and like it was an after show. We played after Mungo Jerry. We played a Mungo Jerry show
Mungo
in the
Jerry.
summertime where the women
That
is.
is amazing that you did
Man,
that.
okay, we played with him at 2 festivals that summer in Germany, and it was like he was so pissed at the sound man. He's like, and he's an English guy, I mean, and
Yeah.
like, and we're just like waiting to sound check. We're just soaking it all in. I love a meltdown. I think it's the greatest thing. It's like anybody. He's like anybody know how to do any fucking sound around here for real? Anyone? Do you know how? It was like because the sound was horrible or whatever. But anyways, we played like an after show of that, and no, hardly anybody was there. So we just started fucking around and drinking a bunch, and we started switching instruments, and it sucked, but we were having a blast. And then we started doing it at bigger shows, and that over the years it got better and better, and now it's like this, it's ripping, and our drummer can rip a guitar anyway. So by the end of the switching, the last chess move is where he's on guitar, so he can rip a solo.
I've noticed.
You've got to end well.
Yeah.
Start good.
Yeah.
Start good, end well. Everything in the middle,
Yeah. No, that's kind of part of jamming.
Yeah, chaos, and invite the chaos,
But that's still ballsy. Like it's cool that you guys pull off like a lot of ballsy things like that. That's not an easy thing, especially at like a bigger show, Like
well, and that's probably the most fun. Like that's when you're like, fuck yeah, dude. Like getting comfortable doing anything like that. It's the most fun because Frasco comes into shows like he loves NBA. It's a basketball game to him.
Yeah,
we're going out there for a W.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, let's go. And so he's fucking like game time about that shit. And I love that. I love like his intensity, but it's also still just ridiculously fun. And some of the songs, like, the newer songs, the newer album are getting more introspective and a little more lyrically, like definitely, self-reflective and more like kind of not to say completely serious subject matter, but they're not. It's not smoking dope and rock and roll and mature as fuck. Blame it on the pussy as much anymore. But we got those sprinkled in there, and it's like makes the show cool.
Blame it on the pussy, man. That whole album.
What a day that was.
I'm sure that was a day and a half. I don't even know how to go into that.
It was kind of like, we need another song. It's like, fuck it, let's put it on the album.
That's awesome. Do you guys tend to write like a lot more songs than what you're about to put on the album? Like, do you tend to write like 20 songs and narrow it down to the 10? Or
sometimes different amounts, but I mean, there's always a few left over, or some that just we didn't fully put through the process to write completely, or you know what I mean. So it puts it on the back burner. If it sticks around for the next time, then it might come back up. Or sometimes just, ideas go away, and it's a really cool creative process. Like Frasco's been writing a lot more, but we'll do a lot. Like Floyd and I wrote one song. It's the first song on the new album. That was our tune. We were setting tracks. I recorded like the guitar parts right here at my house, and he recorded most of it on the road, and we did vocals when we were around the band and shit like that. But then like some of the other songs, Frasco started recording in Nashville, and then we'd come back over and record guitars later and things like that. And then there's like the other two albums. There's a lot of creative things where like we track with like Dave Schools from Widespread Panic on the floor live, and he'd be like, play the groove for like a long time and until you really know it. Like you feel it, and then we'll start like recording the song. It's like, that's cool. What a cool little. That's how you do that. That's how you figure out the tempo. So something like that. And then we did recording with this guy from AWOL Nation, Kenny Cartkeet in L.A. It's completely different, and it was, what's the riff? What do we got today? Here's the riff. Put it on the grid. Put it on Pro Tools. And then while we're like just talking about it, he already has the drum beat, and he's like, here, play the bass line. Blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, what do you think the chorus might be? And slap it into the grid. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. And it was like so fast and so creative. And it was like, best idea wins. If you have an idea, speak now or forever hold your peace, And so we wrote a bunch of songs like that too. And so there's all these different ways that we've been writing lately. It's cool. It's great.
So what do you have a way that you prefer, like when it comes to the writing side of it, or you just go with
all of it's great because I've taken those processes to other. I've been writing a bunch of songs here in Denver with different guys, different singers, and just coming in with nothing, and knowing that if we just start throwing it on Logic or Pro Tools, like I know how that can work, and then somebody will be like, oh dude, what were you just playing? Fuck yeah, throw it in there. It's like, and it's cool what comes up.
Yeah.
Or you can have an idea And then by the end of like, just because the guy like has the verse and chorus, I don't have the whole chorus. We'll finish the chorus, start tracking it. By the end of like 3 hours, it's got like drums, bass, keyboards, full harmony, the whole demo kind of slapped in there. And like, okay, like let's walk away and see what we do, or take it to another studio and record it for real or something, you know. And it's happened. Like I don't know, my friend Robbie Peoples, my friend Andy Sidow, who I need to finish the song with, I just remembered, and a bunch of cats, and Corey Montgomery, who used to live in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
No,
we've been writing a ton, man, and it's great. And that process of just no idea, no problem. Like go in and fucking just hack something out, and like usually something comes about, you know.
Something cool. Good, yeah. That collaborative thing is cool, you know. Like
if you trust in it, you know. It's cool.
You know, I actually did that for the first time when it came to just having nothing, completely nothing. My friend, I don't know if you know who Jackson Stokes is.
Stokes.
Yeah.
He's killing it. He's doing great.
He is killing it. But him and I got together, and because we've been friends since college. And,
oh, cool, man.
So we got together and wrote something last year, and the whole plan was just to go in the studio the next day and just do a song, just screw it. Like we had a 24-hour window, and we're going to try to write, and we're going to try to record this song and be done with it. It's one of my favorite things that I think I've come up with. And it was so fun.
When you don't sit on an idea too long, it really comes to a head. And I think it's like the true intention of what the lyrics are and everything. Because if you overthink anything, usually it's, you know, it's overthought. Like your first idea, you know, like in tests back in school and shit, it's like, you know, your first guess is probably close to the right idea. Probably, you know what I mean? There's something to that, I think. Especially when you got somebody like Jackson Stokes, who can, I mean, he probably brings a lot to the table too. And if you have any little idea or a riff, you're off to the races, dude.
That was literally what it was. I came up with a little idea, like a little riff, and
it's over. It's like, oh man, the chorus could go here. Oh,
he was like, man, this is so great. Like we could do this. We could do this. Yeah, oh yeah, we could do this. And it was like, it was just such a cool thing. I have a really good time writing with him. Like he's just really talented dude. And I think that we just really complement each other well. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's like the biggest thing.
Do more writing sessions immediately.
Right? The hardest part is getting a hold of him. He's been touring so much.
Yeah. Well, at least, you know, if you get together for a day, you'll get a song. So it's like,
exactly, you know, right?
2 days, 2 songs, or maybe 2 songs in one day. I'm about like, it's so fun to me. It's so gratifying creatively.
Yeah, it is.
Walk away from one session and be like, there's a new song. All right. Yeah. It feels so good. Like new song days, like it's better than new guitar day.
Oh, dude, no joke. No, there's nothing better than new song day. Honestly, like when you finish that new song, you're like, holy shit, that's awesome. Like it's
all wrapped up, little bow on it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, isn't it?
Or at least when you get it to the point where you can just tweak things, you know, it's like, man, that's okay. It's all there. It's all there. Now we can talk.
The bones are there.
Yes.
The bones are good, you know? Like,
it's great. I'm about, as soon as we're done here, I've got my friend Robbie Peoples coming over, and we're going to write some more tunes. Every time we get together, we write a tune. It's cool. And so I have a new band coming out soon, and it's called Tongue Hammer. It's like kind of like Jack White, kind of, you know, rock and roll like that, you know, kind of a little heavier. Yeah, Tongue Hammer. And it's my buddy Robbie and I, we're both the singers. He plays harp and guitar too. He's from Mississippi. He's about the most Mississippi motherfucker you've ever heard. It's crazy. He's got this voice. It's awesome. And then my buddy Esky on bass, who works with this band Sun Squabby. And then he plays in a bunch of bands around Denver. And then Jeff Franca from this band Thievery Corporation. And so we got together. Same kind of thing. We got together as a band, pumped out 4 tunes in one day.
Damn.
And sang on 2 of them, and then we got together again, and then we had 2 more, 1 instrumental and 1 that's completely done now. And it's like, I'm like, it's cool, dude. I'm like really pumped about it. It's like riff rock heaven, dude. So we're gonna get that down the train. We already have a whole plan to get the album done, and we have a video and all this. We're gonna try to go for it.
Dude, that riff rock thing, that's definitely. I mean, from what I remember from Speakeasy and everything else, that was always kind of your jam, like, you know, the Zeppelin.
It's like, oh, someone likes Led Zeppelin too, let's go. Led Zeppelin as well, not the album Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, how can you I mean, how can you not? I mean, if you're a musician, how can you not?
Well, because some people hate Robert Plant's voice, is what I figured out, and that's the only way. That's the only way Zeppelin doesn't work for everybody.
You know, voices are huge, though. You know, that's.
Oh man, I love it.
That's the thing. Voices are huge, though. Like, it depends on. I mean, people love people for their voices. I think a lot of times more than anything else. You know, like the average population, especially. You know, like as as like a normal listener, I think most people that's really all they listen for is like, do I like
Sure.
this person's voice? You know, like
Sure.
if they
I
like
mean,
that person's
the
voice,
undeniable rock riff too. You know, there's you
yeah.
can
True.
neener
Well,
neener, but if you can neener it, it's fucking it's right there.
I mean, just think about the Black Keys on that one. Like shit,
Oh
like
man, they can't. They're not even stopping. I've heard a couple new songs and it's awesome. It's so
yeah,
good.
just riff all day long, riff, riff,
Yeah.
riff.
He's like,
Like,
yeah, here's another one. Let me toss another one out there. Oh yeah, it's like,
it's
you got to
insane.
remember.
Man. It's insane how
Yeah,
many riffs they come up with. That's something that I struggle with more. I'm definitely more of a chordal kind of
sure.
songwriter. You know, like
That carries the melody more than the riff does. You know, so.
yeah, you know, but
Well, I
riffs
guess it's all situational.
riffs are just one of those things that like I think really tend to stick in people's heads and like more than anything that and
Totally.
melody, you know, and if they're really well intertwined, it's just like such a beautiful thing, you know.
Like Tom Morello, it always amazes me. It's almost the same riff every time, but it's a little different, and they're always badass. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh
it's
dude,
crazy.
always badass.
It's like, damn, there's another one. No shit. You know?
So you've I wanted to ask you about like you've gotten to work with some people that are personal favorites of mine, like the Corey Wongs and the Theo Katzmans, and you've been around them, you've talked to them, you've done that kind of stuff. I'm just curious, like what are some of your favorite people that are more that are bigger that you've worked with, talked to, and what are some people that you really still strive to kind of to meet and work with and talk to and be around when it comes to the music industry?
Man, it's what a pleasure to just even be in this thing, you know, because it's cool.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we did 2 records with Dave Schools from Widespread Panic, and that guy's just rad. He's just cool, and like we recorded in this place in Northern California. It was an old chicken farm, so it's like it's converted into a studio. It's called Prairie Sun, and like Tom Waits recorded like what's Mule Variations there, and so there's a Tom Waits room with a Tom's Diner menu and a pump organ that the Tom Waits owns, and it's vibey as fuck. You know, and he's like, this is cool. And I mean, that guy's great. We got to work with Eric Krasno for a couple songs in LA, and like we became friends with him. He's just awesome, coolest guy, man. I mean, yeah, we get to because of Andy Frasco's all the touring we do and everything, but also his podcast, man. He
Mhm.
is, I mean, he's connected with almost everybody you can imagine, and so they're all like familiar with the band or they already were, and so we get to get perspective, hang out with some great musicians and great people. It's unreal, man. It's very nice, and I mean, as far as people looking forward to like meeting or whatever, it's like, man, I'm so happy at this point. It's like anybody that comes my way, it's like, no shit, that's cool.
Anyone that's different, right? Anything that's a different
Yeah, it's
idea
just
and a different.
anybody that's open and cool, you know. It's like, wow, man, you're doing this too, huh? What a crazy thing to do.
And that's a really cool thing about especially you guys. From especially when I listen to Frasco's podcast and everything else, I just feel like you guys are just such open and humble and like really chill people, and it's really it's just a nice thing to hear when it comes to, there's some people that get that weird. I don't know. There's less of that now, I feel like, than there used to be in like the 80s
Yeah,
and stuff. But there's some
sure.
people that get real weird whenever they start to get to a bigger point. And like, it's just nice that you guys have just maintained just being cool people, like.
Well, I mean, Andy got into promoting mental health big time, and I mean, I've benefited from just being like, I mean, he's always been like that, like it's like, let's be open. He's the most open person I've ever known when I met him. I met the guy when he was 23. That was 11, 12 years ago, or whatever. And I mean, he's always been about as honest and open as anybody I've ever known. To a brutal point.
Yeah.
And like the whole band, we're open to meeting people. We're always cool with other bands and everything. And it's like, if somebody's like, you could tell, it's like when somebody is being a jerk or something like that, that's their issue that they have about how they view other people perceiving them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and it's a lot cooler and a lot easier if you're just like, hey, what's up? How are you?
Mhm. Yeah.
Sometimes it can be tough. You could be having a bad day. You can be having the worst day. You could have gotten the worst news you've ever gotten. And like, and you come off bad to somebody, or somebody comes out bad to you.
Mhm.
It's but yeah, Frasco, and I mean, that's pretty much the basis of what he talks about on the podcast is kind of taking care of yourself and being aware and
Yeah.
trying to like to be a positive part of the world instead of letting everything take you down, because that's when you start being a dick. I think and
It really
you
is.
don't even know it sometimes. It's when you're not not being aware of that shit. Breathe, everybody, breathe. You know.
No, and he does talk about that, especially during the pandemic. He talked a lot about
Yeah.
mental health, and it was definitely a cool thing to listen to. I listen to the hit your like that podcast a lot whenever I go on
Right on, man.
my tours and like my stuff, and
He's
it's just
killing the interview now. He's a great interviewer now.
he is, man,
And he
dude.
just went into it. You know, he's like, I'm doing a podcast now, and it's like, it's so many episodes. I don't even know where they're at. They're like over, I think they're at 200 some episodes or something crazy.
Well, that's what like that's part of what gave me the idea for this whole thing, and getting
Nice.
regional and local artists, especially like just getting people's names to different population. It's not like we have a massive following at this point, but the goal is to just try to get different people's names in different people's minds, and have people understand like that artists are people, and we are just chill and hang out and have a good time just like anybody else, and sometimes I think people don't understand that, it's a weird thing.
It can get strange, but yeah, I mean, everybody's just fighting for, it's like, oh, you could do, you're rock star. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I'm still broke, but I'm doing what I love,
working your ass off all the time.
Yeah. Like I hustled, like, I always get hit up friends with like, check your tour schedule, so you're off for 2 weeks. It's like, no, I'm like, we're, pretty much gigging a lot, but I also love to do that, I love to play like almost every day.
Yeah, you can't complain about it. No, for sure.
Yeah, and if I ever do, stop me.
No, you won't. You can tell that that's not your vibe, and I think that's kind of the way that music's going more. I think a lot of people that are getting to a better point in music, I think that's kind of been the way that it is. I think that it's a more chill environment. I think it's less of that ego and more of just people just being like.
Yeah, it's kind of the proof is in the pudding. Like, the mystique without the internet is you had the album cover and the jacket, and you had a video, but you could just watch them on Instagram and see what they do every second of every day. It's just different, But yeah, being chill and taking it all in is definitely the way to do it, man. For sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate. I mean, like again, doing this whole thing, like I very much appreciate it. It's such cool thing to be able
to talk about music, man. It's killing. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take a little pause here and just talk about the whiskey that I'm drinking.
It's fine whiskey, but thank you for the whiskey.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Tayakida rye is what I'm drinking. I think I sent you a rye as well, dude. This stuff is so smooth. It's really good. It's Springfield Brewing Company. I don't know, like
that's who's making is Springfield Brewing Company.
Yeah, they started. So they partnered with Springfield Brewing Company. I don't know if you were here with the whole Missouri Spirits thing.
I don't think so.
Well, Missouri Spirits was like in the building right next to Springfield Brewing Company, and then they were having problems during the pandemic, and SBC took them over. And that's who started making this whiskey, this Tayakida whiskey, and they've partnered with us just to kind of just to deal with all the music, all the artists. They support all the artists in town, and it's just a cool thing. The cellar, I'm sure you've heard of the cellar now back here or whatever, but that's become
lots of things have changed over there.
Yeah, it's become a cool spot. For music, and they're really trying to help support, and so it's that's kind of the whole goal of this, is to kind of meet with artists and do the whole whiskey thing and help promote a local company and help do all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of the whole thing of it,
Right.
And so it's really nice to have one of our best hometown guitar players on here, so thank you for that.
Nice. And thanks so much, bro.
Yeah, man. So let me see what else I got here. I think I've mostly tackled things. Oh, okay. So I've seen like some of your sponsorships and whatnot. What is, how does it going into that? Is that something they tend to approach you about? Is that something that, like Mesa Boogie and like all that kind of stuff? Like how did that kind of work out to begin with? I've always been curious.
An old manager of ours had worked with some other bands that were endorsed by Mesa Boogie and Ernie Ball. Mm-hmm. And he basically did an introduction for me by email, and I kind of took over and made friends with Tim that used to work at Mesa Boogie, and then he went to Jim Dunlop, so he kind of helped me get that too. But it was basically, I got walked through a door, and I've maintained all my personal relationships with these reps, and like made friends with some of these guys, and they've helped me out. It's definitely helpful when you're playing all the time and breaking strings more than you ever have and things like that. So Ernie Ball and Mesa Boogie and Jim Dunlop, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And I'm playing on my buddy's amp. My buddy, I don't have a sticker or anything, but Fat Jimmy is my buddy Mike Pascal. He used to play in a band called Mountain of Venus that would play with Speakeasy a lot. And they lived in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And
Mhm.
he now builds Fender Mod amps. They're custom built, handmade amps in his home. And so I have one of his Fat Jimmy amps. I'm playing through the Mesa Boogie sometimes, and so I still do the Mesa Boogie and that. And it's great. They're awesome. And the longer you have the relationship, it's nice when you can just be like, "Hey, Tim, how you doing?" It's like that's just to be. I'm still working here, and he's like, "Yeah, me too." And obviously, if you get to do bigger gigs and stuff, they tend to give you bigger discounts or start taking care of you.
Yeah, but that's a cool thing. Like I said, I mean, this is our first. I mean, we were Copper Run was with us before, but like this is our first like sponsorship, and
It's great, man. It's huge.
it's just a cool thing. It's just a cool thing to like have that kind of thing and like that kind of back, and
yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is too. Just have support,
yeah. So whenever you think about like where you're going, like, did you like to lead the band more? Do you like to be more somebody that's kind of just like, the guitar guy that's like killing it? Like what's like your favorite side of like being part of a band, like on that
Interestingly enough, Andy Frasco in the UN kind of has 3 lead singers because our drummer
Yes.
leads the band as well. And at some point during the show, I'm leading the band. I mean, at some point, the drummer is leading the band, and and Frasco. So we have this mega trust because he knows. We're kind of growing into that thing, And we switch verses. There's a lot of 3-part harmony going on and stuff like that, and it's great. So like I get to front a lot in the band, so I don't really miss it that much. And like it's nice to have somebody else who kicks ass at fronting a band.
That would be awesome.
Part. We're all going nuts, so it's like I feel like it's it's Andy Frasco in the UN for sure, but I mean we're all in this band, it's our band.
When you first stepped in though, was it
I was definitely a side guy then, for sure, and it was kind of relieving because I mean if you know how it is to run a band.
I do.
Wow, it's like whew, it'll get you, and like I mean, man, we did 15 incredible years and 6 albums and endless touring with Speakeasy. I mean, it's the closest thing to my heart musically, and I love all those guys so much. And it just kind of saw itself to the end of the road a little bit, and with how busy we could be, and I got the opportunity to get on the road and get even busier than I've ever been. So, the crossroads, and we'll still do some Speakeasy shows hopefully over the holidays in the years coming up. COVID's definitely fucked all that up, but like it has fucked up everything. But
always love those Zeppelin shows, man. Those
oh yeah, dude,
like
so much fun. So much fun. I love that.
Whenever I was in town, I always went, and they were always just so much fun to watch. You guys were always great at it.
It's like a class reunion too. It's like I get to see like so many people that I know, and so it's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, what would you say? This will be my last question, just because I don't want to hold you up too long. What would you say is something about yourself that's maybe not something a lot of people know, maybe a sillier trait of yourself that you would be willing to share, something different about yourself? Maybe a weird talent or like a something.
I mean, man, I'm pretty much on the sleeve. I mean, I play guitar, I smoke weed, and I drink a lot. I mean, it's pretty much my shit. I'll binge watch some sci-fi. I mean, I'll watch. I'll watch reality shows with my wife. I'll watch some dirty smut. It's just like like I tried to fight it, and it's like I find myself like asking like, am I missing an episode of some bullshit? Like, what happened to Jenny and Dave? It's just funny shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. I like eating everything that I can. I'm a big foodie, and yeah, man. It's pretty much meat potatoes over here.
you dig like sci-fi and shit. So have you ever?
Oh hell yeah! And I have high opinions.
Have you seen the show Severance before?
No. Is that on Apple?
Yeah.
Okay. Got some sort of recommendation for me?
Oh, dude.
Really?
That show is genius to me. Like,
okay.
I'm a huge sci-fi guy, and like
that down. Seriously, I am too, and I'm like I'm like, I'll get like 6 episodes in. I'm like, this fucking sucks. And then you have to finish it because you watched that long.
You have to, yeah. No, Severance is, it's like basically the whole thing of it is they sever your work mind and your normal mind. So when you go to work, you can't remember anything about your life. And when you go home, you can't remember anything about work.
I'm already in. That sounds crazy.
It's just such a mind fuck. So
is it a movie or is it a series?
It's a series. I think it's 8 episodes, but it's kind of, it's a slow burn a little bit at first, but man, it's such a mind fuck the entire.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
There was one. There was a German show. It's tough. It's called Dark.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I haven't seen it though.
If you got to hang in there, and it's just it gets twisted up, man.
Is it slow at the beginning too? Is it that kind of?
Yeah, well, they've got to set it up so you can, and it's kind of like really hard to understand what's. I don't want to say too much if you ever choose to watch it, but it's like it's that you got to read. Takes you a while to get in it, and then you're like, whoa, this is twisted up, and like big plot twists and things like that.
Well, check that out.
I stuck with it, and it got to be really good. And it was like, kept watching. I had to binge that shit.
I'll definitely check that out because when I saw it, I thought it looked interesting, and then I just didn't get into it. But
it has the English overdubs, so that's also the thing that hurts. But like, I got used to it somehow, and like, I don't see it. I don't know a lot of people that I've talked to. They're like, yeah, I can't hang with it. I'm like, all right, I get it, but I loved it.
Well, I'll try it. I'm sure I'd like it. I'm sure I would. Well, I appreciate you, man. And again, thanks to our sponsors, Tayakido Whiskey.
Let's go.
And thanks to you, Shawn Eckels, man. I appreciate you so much for being on. And I hope
thanks for having me.
When you come into town, let me know, and I'll come buy you a drink or something. All right.
Hell yeah, man. Be great to see you. It's good to talk with you, man.
Good to talk to you too. See you later.
All right, later on, brother.